Good morning, everyone. I'm going to give it just one more hot minute before we get started this morning. It is 10:01. Good morning and welcome, everyone. It's good to see you all again. My name is Kathy Shader, and I am a consultant with the Marshfield Clinic Health System and the Wisconsin After School Network. I will be moderating this Wisconsin After School Network 21st Century Learning Center Community of Practice today. We are pleased to be offering this COP in partnership with the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. A few housekeeping items before we begin. Please keep your microphones on mute. If you have questions, we ask that you post those in the chat box, which the Wisconsin After School Network staff will be monitoring. This presentation is being recorded and will be sent to all registered participants in the next week. I am pleased to introduce our presenter for today, who I'm guessing a lot of you know, Kelly Coulthard. Kelly can share her full bio, but she is a WAN consultant with over 20 years in the camp and after-school field. Joining Kelly with our practitioner's perspective, I've coined a new term, Rachel, just so you're aware. But joining us for this practitioner perspective are Abby Klein from Northwoods YMCA in Rhinelander, Pablo Cruz from Milwaukee CLC manager, and Rose Adong, COA Westside Academy from the Milwaukee Boys and Girls Club. Kelly, I'm going to turn this presentation over to you.
Wonderful. Well, thanks. Good morning, everyone. I hope you are doing well. It's snowing down here in Madison a little bit, so not too terrible, but it's a good winter day, I guess, if you like that stuff. So I'll get started right away. So today we're going to talk about developing and sustaining partnerships. And this is part of your community of practice with DPI. So I guess a little bit about me. Most of you probably do know me. You've been in a conversation with me, peer to peer, other things. And, I guess just my background again, lots of camp, lots of after school. I had a 21st Century CLC grant for almost 10 years. The first year that I was um, in the program, I had, just running not just obviously, but I had an after school program and then moved into having a grant for 5 years and the visits and all that stuff. So I definitely know what it's like to have that CLC grant and to have to check all those boxes off and get nervous about all the different things that I know that you're going through. So today for our developing and sustaining partnerships, we have a few things. I have about 45 minutes, give or take a little bit. I know we have some amazing people on the call today that are going to talk about on the practitioner side what they do. Hopefully we'll be able to get some resources for you. And if you know me, I love a good mentee. So we're going to transition at some point to a mentee where I'm going to have you put in some of your information about kind of some partnerships that you have worked on and some ideas. But just to get us started, gonna kind of talk over a little bit about those visions and those different connections that you might know about, that you might not be thinking about, and where do you start with partnerships? It's a big topic. There's a lot of levels to it, but where should we start today, and kind of start to focus on, and who exactly are you looking for? What areas that you probably focus on a lot, but there's a lot of other stuff in your community that you might not even think that could be a potential partner. And then, like I said, we're going to do some ideas for, some exploring and things like that. All right. So, in the perfect world of youth development, this is what everything looks like, right? The youth are, we're surrounding them with the family connections and school and community and OST programs, and we're all in perfect harmony and we're all talking together, right? And I'm sure that's how all of our programs look. But in reality, this is kind of what it looks like. It's kind of a hot mess. Our families are trying to communicate with us, and school and how does this all make sense with all of our different community partners and all that stuff. So in reality, some days this is kind of how it feels. We are all working together. Um, and before we kind of move on a little bit, we're going to jump into all of these different items of working with different partners. I kind of want to address one of the elephants in the room. Um, Partnerships are amazing. There are so many different levels to partnerships, but the reality is that that's just one more thing that you're going to have to try to work on within your grant, right? Um, there might be programming help. You might be looking for staffing assistance, enrichment. But remember, like the point of offering partnerships are to, give kids and families a unique experience that they may never have had before in their life, or nobody else is going to be the one that gives them that opportunity to explore that topic area or that organization, right? So, you know, I know there's a lot that you already do with staffing and academic enrichment and all that stuff. And I had a great conversation this week with somebody that said partnerships are hard because you're excited about these amazing programs that we potentially could be offering, but the reporting in CAN is really hard. And sometimes the reporting dictates our programming. And that kind of broke my heart a little bit. And they're like, it's just really hard. And I want to make sure that I address that because I get it. There's so much going on. Some of this might be true. You're like, I don't have time to look for more people because I don't have more things to add to my plate. And I totally get it. So I want to know that I hear you, we all hear you. But hopefully, knowing that that can be a barrier for us adding more partners, that this group, this community of practice, our DPI calls, other things with Wisconsin After School and DPI and everything, that we're working together to really address all this stuff and moving forward. So I just want to address that too because I heard that feedback this week and I'm like, it's really something important. I think that should be addressed going into today. All right. So that being said, where do you start? What do you do? Where do you go? Like, there's so much stuff that there's a lot of stuff, especially if you are in a bigger community. There's a lot of resources, and sometimes we miss so many different things that I found out more cool things in the Madison area this week that I thought I had no idea that that is a resource that our schools could be utilizing, as well as our after school programming. Like, we're missing out on it, right? So I guess kind of to bring it back to the beginning where I like to take all those steps back, where should you start when you're looking at developing and sustaining these partnerships? Well, sorry, I'm gonna take you all the way back to your guiding principles, to go back into that that document. And I know I gave Kathy a whole bunch of like links and things like that, and she might be able to pull that up every once in a while. But where to start? Look at those guiding principles. Okay, so right away, that community collaboration. So that's an expectation of your grant. We know that. Partnerships with schools. Yep, that's another way to develop a partnership, as well as family engagement. That's another partner. And if you saw that information I showed before, family engagement is another type of partnership. Well, good news, February COP will be focusing on family engagement. So I'm not really going to talk about family so much today. Also, in terms of partnering with schools, some of you are in schools, some of you have a really good connection, but I'm not going to focus on schools so much today, but more of the community collaboration as a whole and kind of coming up with a little bit different of ideas of how we can collaborate and sustain those partnerships. So, along with that, I think you got to go back to your grant, right? You might have written your grant, you might not have, but going back to your grant, because your grant was started with a needs assessment, right? Now, again, in good conversations with people who've had these grants, they've talked about that needs assessment. They're like, well, it was kind of vague, or I didn't write it, so I have no idea what they're referring to when they talk about that. Well, if you haven't seen your grant, if it's been a hot minute, go back and look and take a look at what that needs assessment was. And, where are the areas that you looked at stakeholders and different partnerships that you could have, and reevaluate those. Can you do other things besides what's in your grant? Absolutely. Sure, anybody on this call in DPI would never say, like, oh no, you can never expand outside of that initial needs assessment, right? And needs of your kids, of your families, of the communities is constantly changing, right? So it's not realistic for us to expect you to say it's hard and fast and true to that, I'm only going to work with a karate studio this year. So, and if you're not sure what to do for your needs assessment, you can do your own needs assessment. You can put a survey out to your staff and say, where do you think we need, some assistance in our program? Or, what skill staff do you have that we could utilize? And then that is a strength that your staff have. And then maybe within you're looking at partnerships to bring in, you don't have to focus on that because, so say your staff are really good at, maybe you have somebody who's already knows how to do videography, doing coding, things like that. You don't need to go partner with somebody else because that's in-house already, right? And that is something that your staff are passionate about, gives them ownership, all that good stuff, right? But going back to that needs assessment for, asking your families, talk to school people, talk to people around you and just kind of determine what else do they need, because there could be something that is, coming up in the moment that we're not remembering or that we're not aware of, right? And again, when I say targeting your staff, they are the ones that are with your kids all the time. And some of you I know are in ratio and you have a heartbeat, you feel the heartbeat of your program with your kids and the families and the community. But sometimes some of us are a little bit removed, right? So getting in with the staff and kind of feeling that pulse of what's kind of going on and what they need to be able to um, add, look at different types of partners you might not have thought of. Looking at your whole community from a lens of your SDOH. So if you don't know what that is, that's social determinants of health. And there's a couple of like domains and you could break it up in a couple of different areas. If you're wondering how do I start looking at different partners and where to go, take a look at what social determinants of health are and look at what that means for your community. So it can be grouped into 5 sort of domains about economic stability, education access, healthcare, neighbor and built environment, and social and community context. And there's a lot within those different domains, right? But you could break it all down into say, I know that, maybe healthcare access in our community is not great. And I'm hearing from our school nurse that we're having a hard time getting kids to, do dental visits or oral health, right? Looking at how you can look at it from that lens, because honestly, we're the ones that are doing a lot of work and helping our families and helping our communities. So kind of looking at it from a different lens than maybe just programming wise, where there's nothing wrong with that, but we know that we are the ones that are helping and we know the kids, we know the families. So taking a different lens, I think, is also helpful. So as you're starting to do that and you're trying to start to focus in some of those different areas, you gotta kind of know when you're gonna go after partnerships, you gotta know your ask and you gotta know how much money you got in that budget. When I say know your ask, if you find somebody out in the community that you want to partner with and you think this would be an amazing thing to do, don't just kind of stumble and bumble your way around and say, oh, I think it would be cool to partner, right? You don't have time for that kind of a phone call and an email, and they don't have time for that type of phone call and email, right? So being very clear about your expectations and what you want to ask of them. Is it a community space that you are looking for? Is it just straight programming and a field trip? Is it, can we partner with some staffing or some volunteer opportunities? What is it, right? So be very clear. And if there is a monetary amount in there, be clear about what your budget actually is. A lot of partners are willing to work with you and give you different discounts. I know when I was doing all my stuff, I had to put down like what the actual cost of it was versus maybe what the CLC cost was, maybe because there was a discount because we were bringing extra kids or they gave us something for free or whatever. But know your budget, because sometimes they may not be able to do everything that you want with that budget, but maybe they can start somewhere. So that's important to know, like what you can actually afford, and it helps you in the long run. And any partner that you're gonna want to partner with, they want to know what's the benefit. What is this? How is this mutually gonna be, beneficial to me? Why should I work with a CLC program, right? And so you have to kind of think that through. So going back to that needs assessment and saying, we know that our families would prefer to meet in this community center when we do our family events, because it's closer to all where all of our families live, right? And also it makes they're very comfortable in this space, and we're going to get a great turnout, and this is why X, Y, and Z, this is what we're going to do with this, right? So that's, knowing that, I think a lot of partners want to know. And maybe something as simple as like, are you okay with me sending flyers for my families? And obviously that's a organizational district, whatever, about promotion of other businesses that you have to figure out. But they want to know what's the benefit, right? Especially if they're giving you a discount. Also, keep track of your partners. Even if you're not going to partner with them maybe this year or this summer, put them on a giant Excel spreadsheet. And this helps for two reasons. Two, not one, two reasons. Um, First of all, it reminds you as to who you've contacted, who you haven't. But we know there's a ton of turnover in this business, right? So it would be really great to have that continuity going through to say, oh, these are all the partners that they worked with before I got here. That's amazing. Oh, these are the contact information. This is fantastic. So we can keep sustaining those partnerships. A lot of these partnerships get broken apart because there's no record of them. There's no track. They don't know what's going on, right? And the same thing to your partners, right? Updating that constantly when people leave, right? Or there's been a change and, programs morph and go in different directions. That's important to keep that updated. So keep track. Also, have patience in this process. You might, email somebody and say, we would love to partner with you because of this. And they'll be like, super great, thanks, we don't have time for that. All right, fair enough. Totally get it. But you know what? Definitely having patience and the perseverance and going back to them at some point. But another thing that I think is so crucial within this field and this space, so many times they don't even know you exist. They don't even know that you have an after school program at the Y, the Boys and Girls Club, within your school in the district, that you have this amazing grant to focus on these kids. And this is what they don't even know that you are available, right? If you go and just talk to people on the street about 21st century learning centers, they have no idea that exists. And I know that probably sounds a little maybe sad, but no, so people, when they start to like think about us and say, you know what, I remember Rachel contacting me about this group. Hey, we should contact that lady. So it's good. It's that having that constant presence. So have patience with it. If you don't find a partner, if you don't get that partner right away that you are looking for, keep going after them. Maybe ask them for, if you can't help me right now, is there another person that you would suggest that we could partner with? Because these are our goals, these are our objectives for that. And again, sustainability plan. Have a plan as to how to keep them, within the mix. So again, keeping track. Maybe you are sending newsletters to them to let them know how amazing, the partnership is between you guys, and you have them in the school newsletter, or you put them in your newsletter to tell people about the work that you're doing together. Again, keeping track, checking in with them, thanking them, having the kids send notes of thankful, thank you so much for having us at the bounce houses. It was amazing, right? So all of that helps to build relationships and that sustainability piece. All right, a couple more things about where to start. Julie Knapp, who I have on here, her and I wrote an article for the American Camp Association about, kind of assessing your needs and working with tips and tricks for universities and connecting to colleges. And it was really focused around staffing, or, overall. And she had some amazing, really good tips in there that can be not just for trying to touch base with staff, but also just how to touch base with universities and colleges overall, right? I know Kathy's on this call and she can speak to probably the millions of emails that she gets. Same thing for Julie. She's with Indiana University and she loves to promote camps, after schools, anybody that's looking for staffing, especially for jobs. But she says, I get these emails that are pages and pages and pages. Like I said, doesn't have time for that. So, you know, her couple of tidbits is, keeping it short, introducing yourself and your organization. If you have files that you want to show them and send them, make sure they're reduced files with links. Draft that email template, all of that. This is some of her comments from the presentation that her and I did together. So I want to definitely make sure that I give all the credit to Julie about that. But definitely take a look at that because I think there is some really good nuggets in there too about when you're trying to connect to universities and colleges, where to kind of start because it can be really intimidating to just go, cold call somebody or email somebody. But again, I would say don't let that stop you because you don't know what they're going to say, right? And the whole Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. The worst they can say is no, or we don't have time, or you don't get a response. So either you email the wrong person or they're just super busy and right now they can't respond to you. They might get back to you in a few weeks, but at least you're out there and you threw it out there to see what happens. On the other side of the screen, there is strategic partnerships. Y4Y, if you have not used Y4Y, you are missing out. It is a free resource. There's so much stuff on there. I took the page from the strategic partnerships here. And as you can see, it talks about how to plan and implement and train staff and how to do assessments and reflecting about different partnerships that you could, come up with. That talks about creating an elevator speech, right? And that's sometimes that's just the hardest part is to be able to say, this is why I wanted to partner with you. So definitely check that out. That's a really good resource I think a lot of us are missing out on. All right. So here we are. We're going to jump into this a little bit. This is also on Y4Y. It's about identifying partners. And I want to show you that this is a great resource because for me, it definitely helps to kind of think about partners in a different way. We know a lot of times we're looking at, what kind of programming can they do for us? So, can they do some STEM programming? Can we take them for swimming lessons? That kind of stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that we are not even thinking about because we're just so focused on the programming aspect. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we're missing out on a lot of potential partnerships. And kind of going back to the comment that I talked about before about social determinants of health, kind of knowing your families, that kind of stuff. Some of these partnerships can be as simple as, I know you offer a free service for this, and we find that we know that our families would really benefit from that. It could be as simple as putting up a flyer in your program space so they know that assistance or that event or whatever is coming up. That is really as easy as it can be for it to have a partnership, right? And also, depending on what your ultimate goal is for working with that potential partner. So if it is to bring in somebody to do cooking, or are you going to have an organization that comes in that's maybe doing, helping with your families to do job searching maybe, or resume building, or something that's more targeted the families. Some of that is a little bit, there's that pride of it, right? Or I need assistance, I want to go to a food pantry, but I'm nervous, right? Or I'm embarrassed, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But sometimes people they feel they're nervous, right? And they may not ask you and say, do you know of this community asset that we have? But having it out on a board, having it in a newsletter, being a resource and you already have that kind of connection, um, that's sometimes all families need, right? Or all that kids need, especially as we get into our middle school and high schoolers, right? And we often forget about those kids and those families. They need these partnerships and these community connections as well. And they may be the one that actually are looking for that help with that partnership. So, but all right. So anyway, um, these partners that I have listed here, and this is again, this is for Y4Y. You can see where it's from, and it's from the Department of Education. Use it, all that good stuff. But here's a really good place to kind of start looking at the different spaces in your community that you can kind of target, right? Industries and places and community leaders, other sources of information, right? And I really, I encourage you to think outside of, what you typically use. I know that some places say, well, we're rural, so we don't have that much stuff. Well, there's a lot of stuff that you might not even be thinking about. I know that you have businesses in all of your communities. So when you look at the industry section of that partnership, there's small businesses, large corporations, all that stuff. Those big organizations have goals and missions and objectives that they need to meet as well. So I used to partner with the Gap, which is, if you've heard this story before, I apologize, but I had a parent. So again, knowing your families, knowing your community, she came to me and said, we have a certain amount of volunteer hours that we need to complete as a store within the bigger organization. And we need to volunteer at an event. And so we have chosen, if you would have us, to volunteer at like a family event with you for your after school program. I'm like, that's amazing. Like volunteers. So like I had them come in and they helped with serving dinner. They came in and they assisted with different activities. So if we would have I did a March Math Madness, right? So it was all basketball related and we had math games out. But we had these volunteers, these young volunteers who were super excited, and it was after hours, and the parents would come, and the different family members would come with the kids, and they were there playing math games with the kids, and they had a great time. So that was amazing. Didn't even know that that was a connection because they came to me. But so what I'm saying is, oh, and on the flip side, they also gave me money. They said, thank you for letting us volunteer. Here's a check. So each time they volunteered, they got money to give to that organization, that after school program that they were working with. And I thought, well, that's really nice. So that was an unexpected benefit. So that's what I'm saying is like looking into some of these weird, well, we say weird, organizations or potential partners that we would never think of. So yeah, I'm just gonna say, like, go through here, take a look at, excuse me, um, some of these areas. You might look at, say, religious and political. Like, I don't like that. That doesn't make sense. But let's think about religious, okay? Like you don't. I'm not saying take kids to go to church or take kids to say you should go to this community, event because it's sponsored by a church. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there something in if you have a partnership with a local church because maybe they're doing a food pantry, maybe they have a beautiful space that families already are comfortable and they know that space. So a family event, or maybe you something happens to your space once a month, or there's something that happens at school and now you're out of space. Can you contact that local religious organization because they have a great space, right? So obviously, some of the stuff you have to make sure falls within your organization's goals and who you can and cannot partner with. That could be something, but um, don't discount some of these places in your community um, for sure. So that's what I have to say about that so far. All right, so now we're gonna do a Menti. Let's see how I'm doing on time. Okay, we're doing okay. So what we're gonna do, if you haven't done a Menti before, you can use the menti.com and put in the code, and that will take us to a different presentation. You can use the QR code, so you can go with your phone and hit the QR code, and that should take you to the page. And that will take us to a space that we can do some voting. So what we're going to do now as we transition is I've talked a lot about community partnerships. Hopefully you got something out of it. But what I want right now is us to come together and start putting in some of these different ideas that you've had and things that you utilized in your community in terms of partnerships. At the end, I'll leave this up at the end because I know we have panelists that are going to have ideas and things they want to talk about. I will compile all these and I'll send it to Kathy and she will send it out. So if you give me 1 second, I'm going to transition to our mentee. And while I do that, Kathy, is there anything in the chat or anything we want to, excuse me, while I transition that you want to hit on? Sorry.
Kelly, not seeing anything. And Kathy's been sending the links that you referenced throughout, so those are there for everyone to access.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, I'm just moving real quick. Okay, hopefully y'all can't hear my cats fighting behind me, so they're pretty sad. Mom has to keep working. All right, can everybody see that okay? Oh, just kidding, that's not the one I want. We good on that?
Looks good.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so I'll go back real quick. Here are the instructions again. Here's the QR code for you to get into our little Menti right here. And our first, just to kind of get us started to see how we're doing, I have a very important question. Twizzlers or red vines? Okay, there we go. All right. I like it. Oh, okay, there we go. At least 3 people. Oh, this is a Twizzlers crowd. I like it. All right, Twizzlers. We got a rogue red vine. Oh, here we go. There we go. Okay. All right. Oh, overwhelmingly so far, it's a Twizzlers crowd. I love it. All right. So next time I see y'all in person, I'll bring some Twizzlers and we can enjoy them together. Wonderful. All right. So now, if you're having issues with getting in, let us know. We can add things from the chat if that's easier for you, if you're not able to be on your computer or use your phone in that way. But let's get started with the community partnership. So right now, this should be popping up on your phone or on your computer for areas that you can just throw in there about community partnerships. So what have you used before that you think is a great idea that you should make sure everybody gets to know about? So I know this takes a little while to populate, so I will continue to kind of give you some ideas. One thing's, on the list I gave you of identifying partners was, thinking about long-term members. And so one thing could be, looking at not, maybe assisted living or a 50 plus community, looking at what kind of organizations they have within that community. We used to have a group of ladies that would come from a 50 plus community and they would make knit hats for every single kid in the school, and they would sit and they would talk with the kids and they would have a great conversation that filled their bucket. And they were so excited to be there, and they had the kids pick out all the different parts and they would make the hats right there talking to the kids. So that was a great resource that we were able to use that people often forget about sometimes. I see someone say senior centers. Yes, for sure. My dad was in a 50 plus community and he loved it when the kids would come over to the senior centers. He loved that. Awesome. All right, so I see Rotary Club members reading with students. Absolutely. If you've ever, I see the local library. They have so many cool programs, and sometimes they will definitely come to you. And they'll do Read with the Dog Day. Sometimes you can partner with the Humane Society to do that. County Extension Office Connections. Yes, if you have not connected with the UW Extension here in Wisconsin, you're missing out. You are missing out. I've had some amazing parent education sessions with the UW Extension. For example, I'm sure I've used this example a million times, but we did a crock pot cooking group, and they did it in Spanish as well, so we could offer it to more than just English speakers, and that was fantastic. 4-H, yep. Make sure you hit your 4-H is so underutilized, especially in talking to our STEM coordinators here with the Wisconsin After School Network. There's some 4-H groups that are just like so excited to partner with more after school programs, or they are the after school program. So definitely hit up your 4-H. Local banks. I definitely want to hear more about the local banks, because I think a lot of people don't think about that and what people would do with that. So I definitely want to hear a little bit more about that. The health department, women's club, grocery stores, mom and pop shops, the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, the Dream Bus. Look at all these. This is amazing. I love it. All right. So keep Greater Milwaukee beautifully. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I'm going to keep this up for a hot second so you can keep adding to it. So it'll be up on my screen. It won't be on this shared screen. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second. But please keep adding some things, because I personally want to ask you some of this that you put up here. So I would love to know that somebody said a women's club. So what did you do? You could either throw it in the chat, or you can come off of mute and tell me about that women's club. So what did you have with that women's club? Like, what was it?
That would be me that placed that one
Yay,
in
thank
there.
you.
And we had the women's club sponsor an outdoor classroom where we wrote them a letter and had some ideas about what we might be looking for in an outdoor classroom. And they donated $1,000 for us to be able to build an outdoor classroom on our property here at the Y. They also have come in and done reading with the kids, or they've done some tea times where like mom and daughter teas or something like that. So they can be a wonderful resource if you have someone you know in there that you can bounce ideas off of.
Awesome. Thank you. That made me think of, if you have not looked at your local golf courses and the First Tee organization, definitely look into that, because they are wanting to get into after school programs. And again, it's another, a lot of times people see it as inaccessible, only if you have a certain amount of money, right? That you can participate in golfing. And that's not true, and that shouldn't be true. But they have, I know in Madison, we've used it where they had an after school, they did some academics, they taught the kids how to golf, they got, free passes and things like that. And it was a great partnership that we had together. So I would say definitely, again, you might not think about that as a resource. And again, they may tell you, oh, we don't have that or we don't do that. But I know this golf course over here is doing that too. So, so that's definitely a good thing to look into. What is Keep Greater Milwaukee Beautiful? Do we have a comment about what that is, or somebody want to come off a mute and tell me what it is?
Yes, that's me, Anna Magana from Mitchell. We started out with Keep Greater Milwaukee Beautiful. Let me put my camera on. We started out with Keep Milwaukee Beautiful. They came in and did a gardening program with us, showing the kids nutrition, the nutritional value of the veggies, different kinds of plants. They actually made their own salsa at the end of the summer. We planted everything they needed for a salsa, and we made salsa with chips, and they enjoyed it. They also came in and they did an eco-friendly program with their students, letting them know about recycling and how not using plastic is just not, it's not good for the environment and stuff. It was really great. The kids loved it. We're going to get them back this semester. I don't know exactly what we're going to be doing, but we love Keep Greater Milwaukee Beautiful. Our kids love the program. We usually do it with their younger children, but they love it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. That sounds really fun. I love it. I do see on here CEOs of Tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know if the person who can put that up there can say anything about that, but that is, maybe an organization that people may not know about. Is the person who put that up, are you here?
I sure am. Can you hear me?
Yay!
Hey.
I just met Antoine yesterday. So
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
do
So
you hit what that is a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we run an after-school program at Westside Elementary in Sun Prairie, and I was connected. Our CEO, the CEOs of Tomorrow Group, actually did something at one of our alternative high schools last year, where all the teens made hot sauce, and they marketed the project. They did taste testing. They sold the project. And so we were one of the sites that they were able to sell their product. And so I got to talking with the CEOs, and they're like, we really want to get into the elementary schools as well as part of the after school programs. And I'm like, well, hey, we are the place for you. So they were with us this fall. And so we had 15 fourth and fifth graders in our after school program who met with them each week. The CEOs of Tomorrow folks came in, and our kids voted and ended up making gummy candies. So gummy worms, gummy bears, all kinds of gummies. And then they had their big presentation, and they were able to sell their product, if you will, at our Math Mania Family Fun Night in December. And I was so worried, like no one was going to buy their product, and they all sold out. So that was amazing. And they are they do need some funds to run their program, but I will tell you, the fall they were able to get a grant which helped fund them to be part of our program. And then we were so excited this spring. I and another person wrote a grant, and so they're going to be back for the spring session as well. So we can also offer it to 15 additional fifth graders. So just a great group. Our kids waited for them to arrive each week. And I can't say enough good things about them.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And again, like that is something that sometimes we don't think about, that entrepreneurship, right? And that they're seeing, older kids that are starting to do, these CEOs and these business ideas. And sometimes we forget about those little elements that could be really important to our kids and our families and things. So thank you so much for sharing that. But yeah, so I mean, all I have to say is it is partnerships. There's so many things out there, and I know it can be overwhelming, but it is worth it. Like you said, Stacy, I think Stacy was the one who said, they were so excited. The kids were, waiting for them to get there. And, you don't know what you're using and what kind of connections that could be so helpful to that kid. It could be sparking something in their brain that says, this is something I want to, go into later on in my life. Or you could be offering a service that, a family member really, really didn't even know was available, but could really help them out in the long run, right? So spending that time and spending, that really dedicated, looking at, like I said, those needs assessments, your, social determinants of health, all that kind of stuff. I know it's a lot, but is worth that time, the effort to be able to kind of come up with that plan, to come up with, good community partners that, you want to reach out to. And this is a great group of people that you can, bounce things off of each other. You can, like I said, for future with DPI, with our, peer-to-peer calls and other things like that. So I know that I'm getting close to time, and I know we have amazing panelists, and I don't want to take any more time away from them. So just lastly, I think you all know my information. We can put the information in the chat. But again, thank you for having me. Hopefully you got a nugget or two of information out, or there'll be some more amazing stuff I know coming up. Again, feel free to keep adding stuff to the Menti, because I will send that out to everybody. But yeah, so I guess, Kathy, I will throw it back to you. If there's any questions, let me know. But I know we have some amazing people on to talk as well about community partnerships.
Super. Well, Kelly, that was just excellent, and I think you're going to still be, you're not dropping off the call, so you'll be on if people continue to have questions. Also, throw those in the chat. We do monitor those. The Marshfield Clinic staff monitors that, and we can get more information to Kelly or anyone, quite frankly. And don't forget about the technical assistance, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, I want to turn to our three practitioners. That would be Abby Klein, Pablo Cruz, and sorry, I'm losing my notes, and Rose Dong. And I'm going to start, Abby, I'm going to start with you since you came off mic earlier anyhow. Here's the question that we ask them, and I think one that can be helpful as you're looking at partnerships, in how to effectively approach that. But what is your approach to building community partnerships, and can you list 3 things that makes this effective for you? So I'm going to actually start with Abby.
Hi, Kathy.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry, you're on my other side of my screen. So yeah, I'm going to kick that over to you. What are your thoughts?
So my approach to building community partnerships. So I am in rural Wisconsin. I am up in the Northwoods, which means that sometimes, actually almost all the time, we don't have the resources that a larger town or city might have. It can make finding community partnerships trickier in the sense that there may not be like right in your face, but we get to be more creative in the different ways that we can approach community partnerships. And a lot of it comes from building relationships. When you're in a small town, everybody ends up knowing everybody and everybody's kind of business. And so if you focus on talking about the impact you make in your programs and you build relationships with these people, like you attend the business after fives, you are on some of the other committees, you're a face, a part of the community, a leader in the community, it really helps build your partnerships and your opportunities for partnerships. A lot of times I have flyers up or it's posted on Facebook and the website through our association that talk about the impact our 21C program does or our after school programs do. And then it helps just keep that word out. I think Kelly was talking about that earlier with emails, and just even if they say no, that they're aware that you exist and that you make a difference. 3 things that really are effective for me is being involved and being viewed as a leader in the community, and then making sure that I am approachable and authentic about who I am and what our beliefs are and our mission at the Y and with our programs. And then being creative with the different ways we can partner. Like we had the Women's Club help build an outdoor classroom. We've had 4-H do a Lego robotics. We've had the health department here doing bike safety. The possibilities are endless. You just gotta dream big and try to go for it.
Super awesome, Abby. That's really great. And I always appreciate, and I know Kelly touched on this too, partnerships take time to develop, just like any relationships do. And so the more, I always tell my students, it's a quid pro quo. If you all know that, right? It's like, what do I get as well as what can I give to you? And so you're always looking for that balance. So that's really helpful. Pablo Cruz is a Milwaukee CLC manager. Pablo, can you come on and share with us your approach to building community partnerships and then 3 things that make this effective for you?
Sure. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of everyone. I've been with the Boys and Girls Club for roughly 17 years. I started out as a YDP and then, moved up to assistant club manager at Zablocki, and now I'm currently at Greenfield Pool in Milwaukee. I've been the club manager here for 6 years. The school it's a wonderful school. The demographics is it's 92% Hispanic. So with that, I keep in mind like one benefit for me is that I try to work with the day school and be kind of an extension of the day school program. So I'm on their learning team, and I attend their meetings every 2 weeks, and we kind of, trying to get a pulse of what the school's doing, what the kids need, what their test scores are, what they could strive to be better in. And that gives me a better idea of, what the school needs from the CLC. Things for me, like we were talking about before, knowing your budget really helps. Having a larger budget obviously will help you bring in more vendors, but MPS and Boys and Girls Club are wonderful at providing free partnerships. So just being aware of those can be hugely essential. For me, I communicate with the parents and the kids to see what they want to do. Sometimes kids they'll say, "Oh, I don't want to do any of this," but then I'll just still have them do that just because you never know. Like we mentioned before, you might spark something that they never thought about, and that might progress them to seek those opportunities out when they go to college or professional work after school. Um, so for me, I guess communication is the key, like talking to parents, school administration, um, always like communicating with teachers, families, students will make your life a lot easier. And for me, the more vendors and partners that we can um, use for our program is very helpful, especially for the staff, because especially now, like I know everyone's short staffed, so this can be like kind of a way to alleviate the burden of having 25 kids for one staff, having these partners come in and do wonderful activities with the students, um, keeps them, doing things that are different they might not do during the day school. Like here, I know STEM and science, sometimes that doesn't get utilized during the day school. So I'm like, okay, I'll partner with Mad Science, or art and dance is really big here, so I'll use DanceWorks to have the kids dance and do and then I'll branch out to, like I said, our school is predominantly Hispanic, so I'll bring in vendors such as like African drumming or things like that. So give them different experiences and gain like, an understanding for different cultures. Um, so that's really, I think, essential. Communication and just being genuine with your students, your families, and the school administration is really helpful for reaching out to vendors and partnerships. And like I said, those free partnerships are out there. You just got to be aware of them and utilize them. If you have a smaller budget, um, like right now, I'm doing a free partnership with First Stage, and you know, they come in 6 times a month to do theater with the younger kids, and they have so much fun doing it. And it's just trying to provide as much as you can for the students, I think, is essential for their growth. So for me, like you said, I try to uh, each year I'll print off from A plus all the partners I use, and I just kind of keep them. Okay, maybe we'll try this one again. I think they're all beneficial in their own way. It's just kind of keeping things fresh for the students, not being redundant, and giving them as much opportunity as they can. Um, and the school is very nice, allowing me to, you know, attend meetings during the day and just, like I said, get a feel for what the school needs. And it changes year to year. The needs assessment at the beginning of the year, it's kind of sometimes for me, it's like, okay, this is kind of based on what last year was, but you'll adapt and evolve as the school year goes on. So just always being aware of those, and being able to, this, you always have to adapt to the circumstances around you. And everybody knows the last 3 years has been trying, but just staying positive and communication has always been, I think, the most essential part of that. And then it'll make your life a lot easier in that regard. Like I heard one of my coworkers, Anna, I'm gonna call her about that program she was doing because that sounds amazing. And I know my students here would love to do that as well. It's kind of, and you draw from your coworkers too, like some things they might be doing at their site, and you never even heard about it. And you'll ask and like, okay, that would be a great fit for my school as well. So I think for me, it's like just always communicating with coworkers, staff, parents, families, and just trying to stay fresh with what's going on around us.
Super. Thank you, Pablo. I'm gonna cut you off. You have great information and it's really helpful. And the key takeaway is that communication is a real key when working with partners on both sides. And I think also you're attending meetings every couple weeks with the school day, right? So with the school, and so sometimes you just go to listen to be a fly on the wall, right? To be part, but you still also participate in the process, I'm assuming. So
Exactly, yes.
awesome. Great. Last but certainly not least, we have Rosa Dong from COA Westside Academy from the Milwaukee Boys and Girls Club. Rose, what would you like to share with the group today about your approach to building community partnerships and 3 things that make this effective for you? Nope, you're on mute.
We've been. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rose. I work with COA. I've been serving at COA 7 years now. Been a COC site coordinator. This is my fourth, and can only talk from what. But the one thing that I do is like the why. Why am I in this?
Rose, you're cutting in and out. I don't know if you can go closer to your mic. I don't know if anyone else is having issues hearing her. I was having a little bit of a challenge.
I am on the computer here, so this is how well I can be honest. Can everybody hear me?
It's a little better now, yeah.
The saying I work for COA. Site coordinator. This is my fourth year at Westside Academy. The one thing I do about my job is number one, it's about knowing who I am as a leader for the students, parents, community, in general. Because if you're in it just for being in it, people will see this job requires more than just a job. You have to have your body and mind and soul in it. So the number two thing that I have for this job is having an open communication, a good partnership with MPS in general, but especially Westside Academy School. I have a good relationship from the principal to the engineer. I communicate all the teachers, the kids, and making myself available when I'm in the building, knowing what's going on in the building from the morning. I attend a monthly community leadership partner by Fredo Hospital, like knowing what's going on in the school. Relationship with her every morning to see what's going on. So the school know what COC is all about. So when I'm not available in the morning, they can answer questions. I'm there in the morning. That's a good relationship. And with the teachers, I check with the teachers in the classroom. The kids know who I am. And the kids be telling me, I'm talking to my mom about signing up for COC. So making myself available and having that open, good communication with the school in general. It doesn't matter if you're cook, engineer, secretary, principal, everybody know who I am. Even the support teachers like therapies and social workers and psychology, all those people, they know me by name, I know them by name, and the common goal, we're here for the children and the family. And another partnership that I have with the parents too. When I talk with the parents, I don't know about you guys, when you address something by their name, I can see the twinkle in their eyes. So knowing parents and trying to know a lot of people by their name and addressing them, even though you're coming with bad news, it gives them a kick like, let me stop for a minute and listen. So, and that really helped me when I'm talking to the parents about, things that are going on, something like that. So it really, that's a good partner with the community. When I go out of the building or out of COA in the community, as I say early on, it's not about myself. I am proud of my job and where I work like COA. What do you do? I am a teacher. I work for COA company. This company has been around for over 100 years. Like, I have high expectation of my company, and I talk with pride. So when I'm in the community, I know what I'm looking for. Hey, we have this program. What do you do? Can you come and do services for our program? We have Black Heart Milwaukee. They're doing African drumming with our kids this semester. We have martial arts. They're coming and working with our kids once a week. The kids love it so much that me and my supervisor were trying to see if we could get him coming 2 days out of the week. Again, it's about knowing your program, knowing your students, and selling your program to the community and going to see what they can provide to your program. And in the process, just this week, we signed a contract with a lady coming to teach the kids. It's like breath work, like teaching our kids how to breathe, because we are seeing a lot of our kids are sending out a negative outburst. Like every little thing, they get so mad, they want to throw things. So we're bringing somebody that can help them. Let's start with the inner body. Practice on your breathing and things like that. So my partnership, my approach is loving what I do, and when I go out there, I'll sell it. COA and COC is wonderful. Come join us.
I love it. Thank you, Rose. That was really a great close. Love what you do and go out there and sell it. And I think what I know from everybody in after school and 21Cs is that you all love what you do, or you wouldn't be doing what you do. So this was really helpful information. I really want to thank Kelly, Abby Klein, Abby Klein, Pablo Cruz, and Rosa Dong. If you have further questions regarding today's presentation, please email the Wisconsin After School Network at the email address provided in the chat box. Before we tell you about what's coming up for the Communities of Practice, I'm going to turn the stage over to Jake Wilson from DPI. And Jake, I know you have a few things to share. Jake, the floor is yours.
So I think you're actually going to get Nathan, because I just got a message from Jake that he had to step away momentarily.
Nathan, the floor is yours.
So here I am. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thanks for reserving a couple minutes for me. We just have a couple quick updates from DPI. This shouldn't take too long. The first thing I want to direct your attention to is an upcoming deadline for the 21st Century CLC Grant Competition for the 2023-2024 school year. That deadline is pretty quickly approaching now. It's February 10th. Do not wait for the last minute to get those grant applications in. So if you're working on them, make sure you circle that deadline again and make sure that you're on pace for that. If you have any questions about the competition, whether it's content or anything along those lines, the first thing I direct you towards is the 21st Century CLC Grant Competition webpage on the DPI website. There's a bunch of information there. And of course, Allison, Jake, and myself are also available if you have any questions along the way or need support or clarification on anything. The other thing I want to remind you of, and actually this is first news for all of you, we do have a spring training sessions coming up. Spring training is a requirement of the grant. You do have to send somebody to those options. We do have two dates circled. One is March 20th, Monday. The other one is Friday, March 24th. The 20th is going to be held in Eau Claire. The 24th is going to be held in southeast Wisconsin, in and around like the Milwaukee and suburbs area. We have to nail down our exact location yet. We're still working with a couple vendors, but we're looking southeast side of the state. We scheduled in 2 different locations to try to make travel plans a little bit easier for those of you who are spread out in various different sections of the state. So put those on your calendar again. March 20th in Eau Claire, March 24th in southeast Wisconsin. You only have to pick one of those. You do not have to attend both. So aside from that, that's all I really have at this point. If anybody has any questions, I'm certainly willing to hang out for a couple minutes, but those are the 2 main updates from DPI at this point.
All right, and it's looking like we don't have any questions, but feel free to continue to put those in the chat as we just wrap up here. We just wanted to let you all know to keep an eye out for your email for information regarding our next session that will be coming to you shortly. Juan will also be putting out a series on the social determinants of health that Kelly mentioned in her presentation, and that will be held on April 11th and April 25th. So mark your calendars and keep an eye out for further information and details on that as well. And just another thank you to all of you for participating today and having a really in-depth conversation with us on this. And then, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to contact Wisconsin After School Network, and I'll put our email address in the chat one more time. Thanks, everybody.